Good morning. This is H coming at you with part two, or the continuation of the Inventor 2023 tutorial series. We talked about the user interface in the previous video, began our journey in that video about that. And then we opened up a part file that was part file 2, and it is still open here. And we're going to continue on with the direction to creating a part, to drawing, and what our first steps are going to be in that process. So if you're just starting out with this software, we're going to be talking about drawing and manipulating a drawing of a sketch, or it's what's going to be referred to as a sketch from this point forward, in a part file. And there's a tab specifically that is dedicated to that idea. And so we're going to be looking at the sketch tab and the sketch tools a lot. And then it's going to start this, and we'll see how far we get in this particular video. And then we'll continue on with that process as we move through. So again, we opened up, we went to the new tool. We went to a standard IPT part that's using IPS, the inches, pounds, in seconds template. So the English Imperial template. And it opened up this environment here. We had our browser or model window, model browser here, and we had our 3D environment that is here. So what we need to do is we need to, I believe, begin with some type of part to model or to create, to emulate. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be working off of a drawing here. And the drawing is going to be just a very, very simple, easy part file, just going to walk ourselves through sketch creation and part creation as we move forward. So this is the part file here that I will be looking at and going along with this one. This is what I refer to as filter plate 2-8. It has our very standard 3-view drawing. We have our front view of our part file here. We have our top view that it is here. And we have our isometric, our 3D view here in the upper right-hand corner of the drawing. So this is a PDF of a finished drawing file made in the Inventor software. So we'll also look at how to create this file as well later on down the road. So this is filter plate 2-8. I will be moving this off screen and following this to create the drawing and the sketch that I need to create in order to make this a 3-dimensional part. So as I do that over here, now the first thing I need to do whenever we're looking at any part file, I'll move this back over, went a bit too quick there. When looking at a part file, looking at a drawing, we have to look at a drawing and determine the best place to begin our work. To begin our work to sketch what we need to sketch to create this part file 3-dimensionally. And I always tell my students, you start with the view that gives you the most information. Now, this information could be technical or what's numerical information, right? The actual numbers that are here in the front view. Obviously, the front view gives us the most information, as we only have one dimension here and we have nothing except visual pictorial information right here. So numerical information, the front view gives us all we need, all but one. So we want to look at this, and whatever gives us the most information in an object and in a drawing is what we want to use to kind of our starting point. That information can be numerical, technical, like this is, all these dimension lines that are here. It could also be visual information, like the fact that there are circles, there are holes in this plate, or maybe there's a curve, not necessarily in this object, but if there's a curved edge, that is visual information that could be easier to create up front than trying to curve something or put a hole in something later on down the line, right? So we want to do this as efficiently as we can, as quickly as we can, and with the least amount of steps in the process to get to the end. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the amount of steps it takes to get to the end product, keeping that low and keeping our time low as well. So this is a very easy one because we look at the front view. It has the most information. That's where we need to be. That's where we're going to start. So I'm going to drag that back over again now. And again, I'm going to start my sketch on the XY plane, right? So this is the first step in beginning any part file, anything that you're creating. You're going to start a sketch and you're going to select the plane of which you want to start your drawing. In this particular part file, because the most information is given to us on the front view of the drawing for this part, we want to select the front plane to begin drawing on. So the XY plane is what we are selecting. And as we go into our sketch, as we've selected that, a couple of things change in the user interface that we need to talk about. First of all, the sketch tab is highlighted. We are currently in sketching mode, right? This is a mode Inventor enters into. We are currently in sketch mode. So you can see that's highlighted. We also can tell because there's a giant green check mark right here. And so that says finish sketch. That's a question. Do you want to finish the sketch? And so you would check that, click on this, and it would leave the sketch mode. You can also see this in the model browser that's here. Everything is grayed out except for sketch 1. Sketch 1 being the default name that was given to this sketch because it's the first one, sketch 1. So as we see that there, we have that sketch 1. We are currently active in the sketch mode, and we can see the tools that we have here to start sketching. So we've started our sketch. We move left to right along the ribbon into the create panel section. Now this create panel section will create entities like lines, circles, arches, rectangles, right? Points, text, fillets. Whenever you're creating anything and making it new, you're using something within this panel. These all make new components of the sketch. If you're trying to modify what has already been created over here, modifying, trimming things out, like cutting with scissors, copying, extending, offsetting, modifying is in this area here. When we get into patterns, there's different patterns, rectangular, circular, mirror patterns. They're here. Constrain section is all about the dimensioning and how the lines relate to each other, whether a line must be horizontal, as this tool here says, horizontal constraint. All the tools here add rules for the lines to follow as we sketch them. Some of them are added automatically, others we will add in ourselves to make sure that our lines obey the rules to create the object we need it to be, right? So then, of course, you have inserting images and CAD and formatting and then finish sketch. So the create, modify, pattern, and constrain panels, we use that a lot. Images, to some degree. To some degree, we use those. All right, so we have our line tool here. I'm going to go ahead and click on the arrow down here, and you'll see this a lot in the user interface. A reminder that if you hold your mouse cursor long enough on a tool, it will expand that window and give you a definition of what's happening and also a pictorial image of what it kind of looks like, what it is creating, what it is doing. So if I click on the line downwards, though, like the little down arrow, that caret, it's going to expand that into different options that exist within the line tool. Splines, spline, equation curves, bridge curves, things of that nature. They're all there. And again, they're all options available to you to use. It's like I tell my students, the more tools you have in your toolbox, the more able you are to do things that are a bit more interesting, a bit more complicated, because you have the right tools, you know that the tools are there, right? So circle, we could do that. We could do ellipses, arcs. We go down on the arc tool. We see these different arc variants that are here. Rectangle tool, a whole lot of different rectangles, all about like what points begin the rectangle, or use the center point or not the center point. You also have the slot tool. Slots are such a commonly used shape in part modeling and mechanical modeling that they made it its own tool. And again, there's different variations of the slot, and then arc slots, and then polygons for as many sides as you can have between, 3 to 120 different sides of the polygon. So there, as you can see, there's just different options. The little down arrow hits different options, and we'll get into more of those tools as we move forward with the software. So first thing I want to do is actually just want to create a line, and this line, I'm going to go to the line tool, And as I move into the area here, this area is the three-dimensional space, but I'm currently drawing on the XY plane. So my mouse cursor is actually giving me X value, Y value as if it was graphed, right? It's a piece of graph paper or an environment where we have the coordinate plane, right? So XY is there and I can see that there. And if I wanted to start the line on a particular location, I could hit the tab key on my keyboard here and you can see it highlights the X value there and I could type something in. I could hit tab again, type something as Y value, hit enter, and the starting point of my line would be at that location. A really nice trick, a nice tool to use if you have lines that need to start in specific areas of the environment. So I just hit the escape key to kind of clear that out, to kind of go back to having nothing selected. There's no tool selected. If I go back to the line tool again, if I select it, you'll also notice that it gets highlighted, right? In the ribbon there, the line tool is highlighted. The sketch tab is kind of highlighted there. And so you can see what is active, what are you actively using in the software by looking at the ribbon and tabs as far as what's going on up there in the user interface. And again, I can hit the escape key and I'm no longer selecting anything. Nothing has happened. And so we're looking at a blank screen and no selections made currently in the software, right? So the line tool operates by clicking a beginning point with our mouse button and then just going in a direction, right? So we start with a beginning point and then we end a line with an end point. Easy geometry, right? And so the length of that line is determined by the first highlighted box that is there, right? So right now it says 0.593 inch. The length of that line is that dimension right there. And we can change that if it is highlighted to any particular size that we want that line to be. We could type in a value on our keyboard here, and our line will become that length. If I hit the tab key, our line expanded out beyond our visual range of what we're looking at on Inventor. We need to zoom out a little bit. We can use the mouse wheel to zoom out, zoom in, right? We could also click the front cube and that'll zoom out and zoom in a bit, right? Well, we also can change the angle that's here, right? The angle that's there, once we typed in the length of our line, it's asking here and highlighting the box that says, okay, what degrees? What's your angle? And this angle is measured. Let me change this up. I'll actually show you. If we do a 1-inch line, right? Our angle is measured from the x-axis, the red arrow coming across the x-axis that is there. And right here, it's on the x-axis. It is 0. And as we come up this way, that angle is increasing in measurementation. So right there, it's 33.18. And this is how the line tool works. So we could put a dimension in there. We have a line that's 1 inch. We have a 45-degree line, right? We can hit escape a few times to clear it all out. And our line is made and it automatically adds the dimensions in here and also adds this little construction line that is here for the angle measurement that is going off there. So that's how the line tool works. We're going to look at the line tool again as we continue to look at the filter plate 2-8 and create that part file from the drawing that I have here. We'll see you next time.